Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Cultivating a Strong Online Brand Presence. Today is Thursday, November 10th, and so happy to join you, that you could join us for this webinar series. So my name is Nick Fry. I'm the Manager of Business Development with Tourism Nova Scotia. We're a division of Communities, Culture, Tourism, and Heritage, and we work with communities and industry to attract visitors to the province and increase tourism revenues through experience and sector development, coaching, marketing, and visitor servicing. We've partnered with our collaborators at Digital Nova Scotia for this webinar. And Digital Nova Scotia is the industry association for Nova Scotia's $2.5 billion ICT sector. Digital Nova Scotia works with small businesses, post-secondary institutions, and is a great partner. And so happy that we could partner with them again on this. And we'll talk a little bit more about some other opportunities on the next slide. But today's webinar is scheduled for an hour. If we go over an hour, that's okay. It will be available for recording. If you have to leave, somewhere else you need to be, that's okay. You can come watch the end of it later. If you find this information really valuable, please share it with a friend in the industry to help spread the word. If you have any questions throughout, please put them in the Q&A at the bottom, and we'll make sure we address them. Any links or resources we discussed today, you don't need to worry about writing them down. We will share them out after the fact. So we just want you to be able to, focus on the material, ask as many questions as you can. These presentations are so much better when we have an engaged audience. And we do have closed captioning available. And if you don't want that on, you can just turn it off on the little menu bar at the bottom. So as I said, our partnership with Digital Nova Scotia really has come together and grown, and we now are available to offer Digiport. So it's a one-stop shop for all your digital needs. So it offers educational opportunities such as this. There are, tip sheets, there are program information, and it's all there in Digiport. So if you're not there yet, I really encourage you to sign up and go check out what is available there. So Digiport is a collaboration with Digital Nova Scotia and Tourism Nova Scotia. It has been very valuable for both organizations to be able to put together such strong content and material for the tourism industry. So today we have Meg Craig, sorry, my screen's second up, from Skysail. And, Meg's firm is, they're really family first, and they are focused on supporting each other and supporting the client. And that's what a lot of the strong feedback you'll receive from people that have worked with Skysail. Meg started her branding journey in 2003 in Toronto, working with creative teams for Nestle, PlayStation, Virgin Mobile. 2010, Meg moved back to Nova Scotia, which is lucky for us, and launched Skysail brand. It is now employing 4 full-time women with different creative skill sets that have come together to create a full-service creative agency. Meg has worked with industries all across Canada, the US, the UK, and has a strong focus on supporting Nova Scotia entrepreneurs, companies, and organizations to build their brand here at home. So we're really lucky to have Meg here today representing Skysail, and I'd like to welcome Meg to share her screen and share some of the knowledge she has. And thank you so much. And remember, ask any questions you can, put them in the Q&A at the bottom. And happy to have you here, Meg.
Hope everyone's doing well. It's really nice to be here today. Nick, can I check in with you to give me a thumbs up to make sure everybody can hear me properly?
Yeah, we can hear you properly, but I'm also going to give you a real thumbs up to
see thumbs up.
Feel really good about it. Okay. Yeah, it's all good. It's great.
Okay. Thanks so much. So I'm so thrilled that everyone's here today. I'm really honored to be working really closely with the tourism industry in Nova Scotia. I think Nova Scotia is the best place on earth, and I'm sure you do too. And to be able to build a brand here is just really amazing. So my company, we work with all different types of businesses But again, because we're in Nova Scotia and we're in such a large tourism focused province, a lot of our work is geared towards tourism, and it's really exciting to see all those things come together. We work with lots of different types of tourism businesses, from Airbnbs, bed and breakfasts, sea tours, you name it. So we've been pretty lucky to have been able to impact and help entrepreneurs with their businesses. And I hope today that this presentation opens up some more doors and some ideas and inspiration for you. And please, like Nick said, if there's any questions at all, please put them in the chat. And once I go through and I'm done, then we'll have some good time to chat about those questions. So yeah, as Nick said, a little bit about me. I'm originally from Pictou County, Nova Scotia. That's where I grew up, on the North Shore. I went to Holland College for graphic design, and then went off to Toronto to study integrated branding. And that's kind of where I got my start in the industry, was in Toronto. I was really fortunate to be able to work with some big name brands right off the bat after school. And it taught me a lot. And I love the fact that I was able to learn a lot of those big city, big brand skills and be able to take them home here to Nova Scotia and help entrepreneurs apply it to their businesses. I have 4 full-time employees. We're all female, we're a female team. And we were in an office together before COVID. And when COVID began, we decided very quickly, because we are mothers and caretakers, that it would be best for us to work from home. And so we've been working from home or our remote offices ever since. And we are in Bridgewater, Mahone Bay, and Pictou County. And we are able to run our business online. And if there is a location that we need to go to, then we'll go and see you. So that's worked really well for us. These are just a really quick snapshot of some of the tourism brands that we've been able to work on here at Skysail. You can see it kind of runs the gamut between companies such as, Tourism Chamber of Commerce. They're really important for us to work with because they have a really good sense of the tourism industry in itself and what their individual communities need. We've worked with tour companies, clothing companies, River Ridge Lodge, Walls Lake Farm Market, The Kitchen. We've worked with Cavato Chocolates in Cape Breton. It's just really interesting for us to see how much tourism actually touches each one of these businesses. And even some businesses that don't maybe consider themselves a tourism business, it can be, and it can turn into a tourism business. So that's why it's really cool to work on. So the first thing is, what is branding anyways? And most people think, branding is a logo. I need a logo. I need a good logo. And really, what branding is, it's not just your logo. It's all of your marketing touch points all put together. So it's a logo or a word mark, the fonts that you use, the consistent fonts you use, the color palette that you're going to create that's recognizable to your business, your voice and messaging, how you talk to people, how you talk to your audience, whether it be online, in print, or in person. And then any graphics that you create. And the last one, of course, is so important: photography, because photography sells tourism, and that's something that we'll talk about a little bit more as we go along. Your brand's personality, reputation, and really how people talk about you and your business when you're not in the room. That's what you really want to capture with your customers. Because if you give your customers a great experience, it'll encourage them to almost do your marketing for you, because they will shout it from the rooftops about how great of an experience it was. And there's no better way for your business to become successful than to have people talk about the good experience that they've had with you. So why is branding important in your tourism business? And so we've just broken it down into these, 4 simple key areas, which is awareness. So when your brand is consistent, what it does is it really does just create awareness. And the more places that consistent brand that you've created shows up in the world, the more people are going to know about it, and the more people are going to talk about it. And when we talk about online, when we talk about social media and things like that, that's just word of mouth. It's just in a different form. So you need to kind of take some of those principles that we used to go on with word of mouth and just apply that in a digital sense. Credibility. Credibility is really important. So when you have really great branding, when you have a really good consistent message, consistent image across all of your touch points, people will look at that and think that is reflected in the quality of the service that you're going to provide them. So if they really see a great brand out there, and they've seen a consistent, they've seen you show up consistently over time, that tells that person that you care about your brand, that you care about your business, that you work really hard to promote it in the good way that you do. And that just creates credibility. And everybody needs that in their business. Obviously, a great brand drives sales. Of course, it will do that. The right messaging, showing up in the right places, doing all the things that we're going to talk about will of course drive sales. And I mean, that's what we need to sustain ourselves, of course, is sales. And then value. So this is something that we often don't talk about, but as your brand gets out into the world more and more people engage with it, you're seeing more traffic to either your online store or your bed and breakfast or wherever it may be. What you're doing is you're building equity and goodwill in your business. And what that can do is down the road, if you decide that, I'm ready to maybe move on, I'm ready to start a new business, or I'm ready to sell my business that I'm in right now, when you have a really good solidified brand, you have a good, social media following, you have a really good website traffic, you have all of those things that are done really well. Those are things that actually could help you in selling your business for more money. All of those things that you do with your brand builds equity inside your business, so that if someone else was to take that over, that online presence that you have is almost like turnkey. So all of the work that you do with your branding, I don't want you to think that it's for naught, because what you're doing is you're building something really, really big. And people want to see that value. And if someone goes to buy your business, for example, and they see a really great website, a really great social media presence, you're more often than not able to charge more for that. So that's a little something that I like to throw in it. So these are tourism touch points. And as the digital world gets bigger and bigger, more touch points turn up, right? But we can't do it all. And a lot of tourism businesses are, solopreneurs or couplepreneurs or whatever you want to call it, but not a lot of staff and things like that. So we have to make sure that the touch points that you're going to use to promote your business are the right touch points for you. More often than not, we see businesses start out and right off the bat, they are asking about all the different social media platforms, all of the different places to show up. And the thing is that from our point of view, we have to look at your capacity. We have to look at your capacity. We have to look at where your clients are, where your audiences live, and then pick out those touch points that you're going to be able to do a good job at using. And I will always say it's best, you know, to do one or two things really, really well in your marketing mix, as opposed to trying to do them all and not doing a great job at them, right? So for example, you know, for a tourism business, of course, a responsive website with SEO built in and all of those things is imperative. Like that's, you know, your number one thing. And then after that, it is where are you showing up in terms of you know, Facebook and all of the other Instagram, all of the other social media platforms. And then, you know, do you dive into email marketing, and do you dive into blogging and those types of things? So there is a certain, you know, there are so many things that you could do, but you also have to look at your capacity. And so my company, we kind of alleviate a little bit of that capacity for you. But we also are really, really conscious that, you know, tourism businesses need to have some power themselves when it comes to doing all of these things. And so we're really enthusiastic when it comes to teaching and showing you how to do things. And if you want us to continue doing it, we do, but we also want you to feel that if you want to tackle some of these things yourself, that you can. And the first thing, I think, before anybody, you know, starts a business, the first thing to do, of course, is to get to know your customer, get to know all of the things like where do they live, where do they shop, where do they eat, where do they travel, how much money do they make, all of those sorts of things. And so depending on what type of tourism business you have, you might market differently, which means your touch points might be different. And so each person or each business, I should say, you know, should have their own strategy, their own, you know, offline strategy, their own digital strategy. And there are lots of tools out there to, you know, find out who that customer is. And once you know that, it's really powerful, because then you can really speak to them as opposed to speaking to a broad audience and potentially just hitting a couple people. So you really want to find out who your audience is before making those decisions. So this is of course, my plug for Tourism Nova Scotia, which we love because they do so much work and heavy lifting for us and tourism businesses in general. They have so many statistics that are helpful about people who travel to Nova Scotia, what they're doing, where they're from, you know, the money that's being brought into the province through tourism. So I really encourage you to use Tourism Nova Scotia's website as a really great resource for things like that. They are here for you, and everyone involved wants tourism in Nova Scotia to grow. And I think that they've done a really great job at providing all of these tools for us and our businesses. So definitely visit them often, look at the reports. They're doing that work for us, which is really great, really helpful. So the term digital tourism, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It used to be that, you know, people would, you know, book online or call, email, book online, and that's kind of where, you know, people thought the digital journey site sort of led them. And so what we call digital tourism is really any one of those touch points that touches your business at all. And so because there's so many digital aspects to, planning a trip, looking at reviews, going to TripAdvisor, Airbnb, Nova Scotia Tourism, things like that. The digital component plays a huge role in the trip planning process. And so I'd like you to start thinking about all of those marketing touch points as digital tourism. And it's only going to keep getting bigger and deeper. And the businesses that really embrace digital tourism are the ones that are going to come out ahead, because they're going to know how to reach their customers in a better way. So digital tourism is a phrase that we should all be familiar with. So these are just some online stats for you about branding, about how people view brands. And so, authenticity is a huge part of it. It's a key factor when brands are looking for a place to go. They want to know that the people that are behind the business are authentic, that they care about good things. They're really real about their business and the story behind it. And that creates a connection. Authenticity creates a connection. And that's really important between a consumer and your business. Color, for example, color is really important when it comes to visually showing your brand. Brands that have a couple colors that they own, that they use consistently, that it covers all of the digital and offline touch points, creates a really good awareness piece for people. Because when you're out in the world, before you even read words, people recognize colors first. And so if you own a color and you use it properly, it can really be impactful for people, especially when you're trying to be remembered. So think about that a little bit when you're designing your pieces, your marketing pieces. Consistency is also really important. People like to see a consistent message. They like to see consistent posting. They like to see that you're really involved and that you're not all over the place. And what I mean by that is that you're consistently doing things that build a brand as it gets older, as it grows, right? So you want to make sure that if you're posting online, that you're doing that consistently, that if you're designing marketing pieces, those pieces are designed consistently with messaging and colors and photography and things like that. So the more consistent you are, the better it is for customers to be able to find you and really enjoy the content that you're showing them. Transparency, of course, is huge. Especially for tourism businesses. People want to make sure that when they book a trip or a stay or a tour or whatever it may be with you, they want to make sure that when they get there, that it's what they think it's going to be or better, right? We've all done that where we've gone to places and we've shown up and it just wasn't what they said it was going to be. So transparency is really, really important. And I really think that business owners are starting to really embrace that right now. They're being more honest, more truthful, more, this is behind the scenes how things work, and customers are really enjoying that. World issues and things like that. So, some of the brands that we've been working with, they're working really hard to make sure that when they're enticing people to come to Nova Scotia, that they're also really caring about the province and about things like recycling and keeping our waters clean. And they want to come to a place and give us their money, and they want to know that they're being a part of all of these things that we're trying to do to keep Nova Scotia to be, a beautiful place. And people really like that. And they like to see, if they land on your website, they like to see that that you're doing all of these things, and that, you might have green energy or solar and that, and those are really going to start to attract people to come. And then, of course, values. Values are really important. And people want to associate themselves with brands that have similar values to them. And you can show your values through lots of different ways, especially, on your website. You can be as very honest as saying, like, this is the type of business that we run, and these are the type of, people that we want to have here in our business. And we, businesses like yourselves should also be thinking about the values that you have and the values of the people that you're trying to attract to your business. And when your client values align with your business values and your personal values as an entrepreneur, things align really well, and it can only do good things for your business. So I've come up with 10 digital must-haves, some really quick things for you to note when you're building your brand. Is, of course, a consistent logo and brand mark. Just over here on the right, I've shown you the work that we've done when Oak Island Resort and Conference Center rebranded from Atlantica, if you can remember that, here on the South Shore. Just to make sure that your brand, your logo, everything is really easy to read, that it shows up really strong and really clear. To make sure that your all of the elements that you use offline and online are high resolution, that they look like they're the proper formats, things like that. And then again, when we work on visual branding, we like to make sure that your brand is flexible, which means all of your marketing touch points are going to be different sizes and different formats. And you want to make sure that your brand in your visuals are flexible, so that wherever you show up, you're showing up at your best and your strongest. Number 2 is consistent voice and messaging. And we've used the Kitchen, which is an inn and restaurant in Mahone Bay. And Danielle King is the voice behind all of her business and messaging, and she does a really great job. You can see that she speaks to her customers as if she knows them, as if they're friends. And it's worked really, really well for her and her audience. She knew really well what her audience, what they were like, and how they like to be spoken to. And so she's taken that on really, really well. Consistent voice and messaging can also be, the offers that you have, and updating those and making sure that they are clear and concise, so your customer knows exactly what you're offering. A friendly tone and manner is always important, right? People don't want to read things and think that it's for a general audience. They want to believe that what they're reading is specifically for them. And that's what you need to do when you're writing your copy on your marketing material, is that you're speaking to that audience, you're speaking to that person, so that when they read it, they relate. And then, of course, keywords for SEO, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but you want to make sure that in all your material, especially, because SEO, of course, search engine optimization, applies to everything online. So in terms of SEO, what you want is all of the search terms and keywords that people are going on when they're planning their trips, when they're planning their vacations, that those words are showing up, and those words are being searched for, and then they're being found, and they're being found on your website and in your digital material. And that's going to help your business as well. Number 3, photography and video. As I said before, photography and video is what sells tourism. So if you're not embracing that right now, please take a good look at it. People want to see visuals. They want to see the place that they're going to go, and that means that it builds trust for them. We've used images here from two of our clients, which are beverage clients, alcoholic beverage clients, but they also have a tourism aspect to them because there are people that come to visit their distilleries. And so we just kind of wanted to show how these two brands, of course, which are owned by the same people, but they show visually very different because their audiences are very different. We always want to make sure that on our digital material that there are current images, which means that you may have taken photos of your establishment, and there may have been renovations or there may have been upgrades. Make sure that those are taken into account. You never want your business to portray itself one way online or in print, and then when your customers arrive, things are different, and then they're disappointed. So we always have to keep that in mind. Clear resolution, of course, is a must. Having clear video, clear photos, just will help reflect again the type of quality of service that you're providing. And then you need to think a little bit about your audience and seasonality. So, your business might only be, a summer business, and there needs to be a way that, although you're a summer business, that your marketing is continued all year long. We're finding more and more research about, people start, planning their travel right after Christmas for the summer, or holidays for the summer. And so when it comes to that sort of thing, video and photos are great, because what you're doing, of course, here in Canada anyways, is you want to entice people and let them know how great and beautiful and wonderful it is here in Nova Scotia. And you want to remind them of this in the winter. If you have a winter business, a winter tourism business, wonderful. Then you can keep taking those photos and videos all year round. Reviews. And I'm sure you're all familiar with reviews and the impact of reviews. Again, reviews are word of mouth. And reviews are one of the first things that people look at when they're going to, book a stay somewhere, book a tour, wherever it is that they're looking to go to. Reviews are going to be huge. And so we want you to know that it's okay for you to ask for them. It's okay for you to then use them in your marketing material. And then you can use it as an incentive as well. There's programs that you can do where, you can ask for reviews and, get a certain percentage off of your next visit. There's lots of different options, but you have every right to ask for those reviews, whether people give them to you or not. And for the most part, people are really, if they had a great experience, they really want to let people know. Number 5, so frequently asked questions. When it comes to your website, especially, and you can also have them on Facebook, you can have them on, I'm sure, all the other platforms that you're on. But what frequently asked questions do is they save you time and money. And what that means is that if you're getting consistent inquiries about the same thing, that's taking your time to answer. That's taking time away from you when you could be doing other things. And so you want to be able to provide answers to those questions so that people are more equipped to come and visit you or wherever you're at and whatever your business is. And they're not asking, they're not writing you with questions every 5 minutes on their email. Hopefully, all of their questions are answered in the FAQ section. And so we always like to say that, no more than 15 questions is fine. There's always going to be people reach out with questions that you wouldn't have even thought of. And that's cool. And I want you to take note of those because, it's funny how it works where someone will ask a question and then, oh, that's a new question. No one's ever asked that. And then someone else asks. So it's also for you as much as it is for them. And again, the keywords in SEO, the frequently asked questions are really great because sometimes people will search questions and your questions will show up for them, which leads them to your business, which is kind of cool. SEO. So you always hear about SEO and, what is it, how you do it. And you know what, it can be complicated. It can seem complicated at first, but once you get onto it, there are some really great advantages to doing it. There are a lot of websites and, digital products out there that people create. And because the SEO isn't done to its best, people aren't finding you online because you're not showing up. And the way that you need to show up, especially in the tourism industry, there's a lot of competition. You want to make sure that, on Google, you're rising to the top so that people find you when they go to search for what you have. So, keywords are really important, which means that, for example, if you were a tourism company that rented bikes, for example, you need to make sure that all of those things that people are going to want to know and learn about your business, those words are on your website so that when they search for those terms, they show up. Landing pages are really important as well. So to make sure that on your website, things are really easy to find and that landing pages are done in a way that, for example, if someone wanted to book right away, you could send them that landing page instead of sending them the whole website. And people really appreciate that. What's also really good for SEO on your website is steady content. And this is, I think, daunting to most people. But when you see the results that it gives you, it kind of eases that burden a little bit. And steady content could be having a section on your website for a blog, for example, having a really good mix of photos, and then talking about your business, talking about the experience that people have when they're with you, and talking about all of the exciting things that you can do within this business. And that does two things. It helps the consumer decide whether or not they want to come to your business. And it also makes the Google happy. When a website is showing changes in content consistently, that tells the Google, that tells like the internet gods that you're busy and that you're engaged and that there's traffic going to your website, and that in itself will help you rise to the top and rank better. And then of course, relevant links. So you'll see over here, this is a section that was on a website for accommodations that we were working for. And so they wanted to make sure that everybody that was going to their business knew about all their designations and their associations and everything that they were involved with. And that's great because showing these logos is great. It's like instant proof, right, that you're credible. What's great about these things is that when you have these logos and these designations and they each link back to those associations websites, that's also something for SEO that people really, really, they don't spend enough time on. And backlinks, crosslinks, things like that. Those are all things that you can do to set your website up for success and to be found. Number 7 is analytics. And, there's different levels of analytics that you can use. You can use the website analytics that are probably hooked to your platform, whatever your website is on. You can do analytics through social media. There's a thing now called Facebook Pixel, and you can embed that on your website and really monitor the traffic between Facebook and your website, which is great. And then Google Analytics, which of course is the standard for your website. And so analytics, can be daunting, but it's a tool for you. And if you know how to read the analytics, what that does is it will show you what you're doing right, what you're not doing well enough. And then after each season of your business, you can then review those things and come up with a plan of, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do better? What are we going to do different? Where are we showing up online? And they're just really, really helpful. So, sometimes businesses just need a little bit of assistance in deciphering what the analytics mean. Once you get onto that, then you'll know your business better. And that's what we want. So social media, I've just used a recent sort of event tourism piece that we worked on the South Shore for an event that we just had. And so social media, what's great about it is that for the most part, it's free. If you're not doing paid ads, paid reach, things like that. And if you give your customers a great experience and they want to take pictures of where they're at, and they want to put it on social media, they kind of do that marketing for you. I'll keep hitting that message home. And social media can do a lot between graphics and QR codes, which are huge now, which they weren't the past 10 years, and they're coming in really strong right now. You want to make sure that your social media shows your business, shows your offers, shows how you live in Nova Scotia, shows how you work with other businesses. Just a really great place to show your personality. And so we like to think, people aren't sitting on your website, because they're not. Most people are sitting on social media. And so that's your chance to find your audience and talk to them. And the more you talk to them, the more consistent you are in those things, the more business that you're going to get. So that's really the word of mouth, is the organic reach that we talk about. The paid reach is something that you can also do, and it's not crazy expensive. You get to, pick your budget. You get to target where your ads or your images show up, and it most likely is, outside of Nova Scotia as well. And yeah, so to the start of the year, or the start of your season, doing a couple paid reach places are really important. Social media is great for businesses that don't have a big marketing budget. If you can come up with a really great social strategy and execute it really well, it's your time, but you're not paying anyone else to do it, and you're not paying the platform to do it. So there's lots of ways to get around it and have a really good social media presence without paying a lot of money. So blog posts. Blog posts are a great way to drive traffic. And like I said before, a lot of people, they don't know where to start. They kind of consider blogs to be, I have to write this long story. It has to be really long. It has to be, really, really wordy. And the fact is that it doesn't. I like to think of the blog section on your website as sort of like the heart. It's the heart of your site. You might not update a lot of your other pages on the site, but the blog page is where you can. And for example, using a blog post to talk about a new offer that you have at your business, to show pictures of it, to use keywords in that, and then use that blog post on your social media is a great way to drive people to your website. It doesn't have to be long and wordy. It can mostly be pictures if you'd like. And there's different ways to do it. People like to see that your blogs are up to date. No one likes to land on a site and see a blog that was written 3 years ago. It needs to be up to date. You need to make sure that it's been at least, a month since you posted your last one. And the biggest thing that I find so cool about blogging when it comes to tourism is that you can reuse that content in so many different ways. And, if you're reaching out to potentially some PR firms or some tourism influencers, your blog is going to be a way for them to get to know you really well. And perhaps, like we said before, it drives SEO on your website. And again, that's just a great thing. Blog posts and again, like we say, makes the Google happy. It helps you in your rankings and all that good stuff. And number 10 is Canva. And I wanted to talk about the program Canva a little bit because over the past 4 or 5 years, as Canva was just like starting to grow and come into the marketplace, what we've seen is that what it's done is it's put the power of graphics and photography, presentations, videos, social media, all in the business owner's hands, which is amazing. So it doesn't mean that you always have to hire an agency to do those things. And so what we like to do at our agency is, of course, we have all of the programs like Photoshop and Illustrator and all those industry standards that we're taught to use. But we also use Canva a lot. And the reason why we learn to use Canva is because we like to be able to not only do the work for our clients, but we like to put the power in their hands. We like to teach them how to do it. So, you need to think of Canva as, a home for your brand, right? Inside your Canva account, you can have all your logos, your colors, your fonts. Everything in there is stored. So when you go into the program to create a new offer or an ad or whatever it may be, your brand is already in there and you don't have to start from scratch every time. And what you do is you start creating templates and your marketing material just becomes easier to handle. It's also really great for your offline material, whether it be, rack cards, business cards, brochures, things like that. You can even create, promotional pieces in Canva. So if you don't have Canva right now, as a tourism business, I would say, please check it out. It will save a lot of time for you. It's really affordable. And if you hire an agency or you work with an agency like ours, we'll make sure that that whatever it is that we create for you, that it's done in Canva so that you can then, do what you need to do with it. And it feels really powerful, and you feel a little bit more confident with your brand because of it. So we're a really big fan of Canva. In this slide, I just talk a little bit about what to know when you're hiring an agency or a creative professional like us, like Skysail. You want to make sure that they have a keen interest in understanding your brand and your business. So for us, it's really important that, we keep up to date with, the stats and things that Nova Scotia, Tourism Nova Scotia provides for us. We have other places that give us the right, research. We also know every time we work with a specific tourism business, we learn so much. And then when we work with the next one, we use those learnings. So over the years, over the 10, 12 years that we've been doing this, and we've worked with, Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts and hotels and tours and, all of those different types of tourism businesses, there's a lot of cross consistency with them. And so whether or not one business is, close in relation to another, there's always, general tourism things that we can help provide. You want to make sure that they know your business, but they're really interested in your business and they're interested in who your target audience is, because everything that they produce for you isn't really being produced for you, it's being produced for them. It's being produced for the audience. So you need to, keep that in mind. Of course, creates assets and platforms that you can access, and that's the Canva that we're talking about. Creates all digital accounts in your name. This is a really strong one that we promote. There are some, creative professionals and agencies that kind of have what we call like an old school state of mind, which is, they set up your digital website accounts, things like that, and it's sort of housed with them. We don't believe that that's the right thing to do. We want to make sure that in any program that we work in any of the accounts, that we're working inside your accounts and you own them and you are giving us permission to go inside them, to use them. And what that does is that it just keeps things really, really clean. And at the end of the day, you feel and you know that you have the ownership of all of these things and that the agency doesn't. Make sure that when you are done working with a creative professional, that every single file that they worked on is provided to you, that you have all the rights to it, that there's no reason that they could hold anything back from you. Especially with Skysail, we want to make sure that when you're done, that you feel really good about everything and that you have everything that you need to build the plan and execute the plan that you have. Respecting your privacy is really important as well. Oh, I think I lost it.
Sorry, what happened there, Meg?
I don't know. I think I just lost the screen.
Okay, and are you?
Here we go. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry, guys. So you need to make sure that they respect your privacy, that, we work with a lot of different businesses that are in the same area and could even be in the same type of industry. And although, we use learnings from every client that we have, your specific privacy is really, really imperative. Communicates easily and tailors communication to your preference. So, what often we ask our clients is, do you like to communicate over email, over text, on the phone, with a Zoom, however it may be? The agency or creative professional needs to be flexible to you, and not everyone learns and communicates in the same way. So we're very open to that, and we'll try our best to accommodate those things. We know that small businesses, are strapped for time. They don't have a lot of capacity. And so we are kind of right there with you. And, if you need to do a quick Zoom in the middle of the day while you have clients around, whatever it may be, we're there for you. And then the costs that you pay really need to reflect the experience that the creative professional or the agency has, right? Costs are going to be different depending on the skill sets that they have, how many employees work at that business. Maybe it's a solopreneur, so it's only one person. So you need to make sure that you get what you pay for, and that experience is really, really important in that field. And then, of course, honest feedback. So as a company, we always want to make sure that that we're being as honest as possible. If we feel like a direction you're going in isn't right for your brand or your business, we'll be really honest, respectfully honest with those things. At the end of the day, it's your business and you get to decide. But it's also our stance that, we're professionals at what we do. And if we see something that is going to be a detriment to your business, or we see something that could potentially be done better if you switch to a different direction, we'll be very honest with that. And that's what you want from a creative professional, is to have that open and honest communication. So the next slides are a little bit about Skysail brand. I'm not going to read this for you, but you'll get it in the presentation when we're done. And it just talks a little bit about our team members, what their positions are, and a little bit about our background. These are some of the associations and awards that we're involved with. We're also really big community sponsors and sponsor events all over the province, tourism related and not. But yeah, so, we make sure, because we work with so many tourism businesses, that we are sort of up to date and in the mix with Tourism Nova Scotia, Digital Nova Scotia, of course, Center for Women in Business, which we feel is such a great association, tie-ins, and of course now Digiport, which is huge, and it's been so helpful to tourism businesses in all different capacities. And I used to be blind. These are all the things. So this just really scratches the surface of all of the things, all the services that Skysail provides. But because of all the different types of touch points that are out there, we've had to be really good at, picking up new things really quick. And we, handle things from copywriting, web design, logo and brand design, you name it. We're sort of all in there. Photography and videography. Anything that a tourism business could need and could want, we want to make sure that we're offering those services. And these are all of the ways that you can get in touch with us. And I think Nick's going to speak a little bit about some one-on-ones that you could have with Skysail now, which is really exciting. And yeah, thanks so much for listening. I hope you have questions. And if there's anything that we missed or didn't touch on, I would love to know. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Now, do we have any questions? I think that was an absolutely excellent presentation, and I'm so glad that that's going to be available to our to anyone that wants to view it after the fact. So I would say that it was very comprehensive and really covered any question I would have asked. So you addressed a lot of it kind of ahead of time. So we got from Gwen Smith, thanks, Meg. And I'm just going to again encourage anyone on here to ask any questions. Does anyone have any questions? I would say that Skysail is available for the one-on-one. So if you're listening today or you're listening after the fact, you can always check in with through Digiport and book a one-on-one. So you could discuss any aspect of your branding or anything that Skysail does, because there's a lot of value in this company, obviously, and they have a lot of knowledge. So I would encourage you to do that. So I will take the screen back over. Meg, thank you for the time again. I think that that was such an excellent presentation that I will, I'm just going to share my screen now. Well, thank you so much again. That was such a great presentation from Skysail. So we have upcoming webinars, and the next one is on December 8th, and it's Your Business Has a Great Story, Are You Telling It? And that is by Leah Sanford with The Family Knife. We also have on January 12th, Hook 'em and Book 'em online booking presented by Yazid Sobaya. So that's with Halo Branding. And if you're thinking to yourself, how would I remember this, or how am I going to remember? Sign up for our news and resources newsletter, and all this information is shared out through there. So if we have any programs, really interesting webinars, or anything that we feel is relevant to industry, we share it out through our news and resources. And the link's right there at the bottom. If you want to see any previous recordings, or if you are interested in watching this one again or sharing with a colleague, I would definitely make sure that you check out the link there, tourismns.ca/webinar-series. So that's a great opportunity. You can stay connected with Tourism Nova Scotia through our corporate email, tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. Our corporate website is tourismns.ca. Again, that's where all of our programming would be. Novascotia.com is our call to action. It's where all of our consumer marketing directs to potential visitors. News and resources is tourismns.ca/news/resources. We are on Twitter as TourismNS, and our corporate LinkedIn is Tourism Nova Scotia. So thank you again for joining us, and have yourself a wonderful day.